Most people want to succeed. They dream about it, talk about it, post quotes about it. But when it comes down to the choices that actually lead to success, they fold. Why? Because success doesn't come from what you want. It comes from what you're willing to wait for. And most people don't know how to wait. They've trained themselves to crave the now, the comfort now, the pleasure now, the reward now. But here's the brutal truth. Everything you truly want lives on the other side of delayed gratification. In this video, I'm going to show you how this single mindset shift, the ability to delay gratification, can unlock everything you've been chasing. More money, more discipline, better habits, stronger relationships, and yes, long-term freedom. I'll walk you through the psychology behind it, the habits that reinforce it, and the mental discipline you need to build it. Because when you understand how to trade short-term pleasure for long-term success, you start winning quietly, consistently, and permanently. You see, our world today is addicted to immediacy. Everything is faster, more convenient, more accessible. You don't have to wait for anything anymore. You want food? Tap a screen. You want attention? Post a photo. You want distraction? It's in your pocket, vibrating every 5 minutes. And in that culture, patience becomes a superpower. In a world where everyone is reacting, the one who chooses to pause, to resist, to delay, becomes unstoppable. This isn't about self-denial or suffering. It's about clarity. It's about being so clear on what you want most that you stop chasing what you want now. It's about training your brain to stop looking for shortcuts and start building pathways that lead somewhere real. Because every time you choose instant gratification, you trade your future for your feeling. But when you choose to delay gratification, you reverse that equation. You stop sacrificing your long-term success for your short-term comfort. You sacrifice comfort for greatness. And that's a decision most people never make. That's why they stay stuck. Smart people, capable people, but stuck. Not because they're weak, not because they're lazy, but because they never learned how to wait. They never learned how to push through the discomfort of the now to reach the breakthrough of tomorrow. But you can. You can train yourself to rise above the noise, to override the urges, to master your impulses. You don't have to be ruled by them. Discipline is a muscle. And delaying gratification is the way you build it. Every time you choose to wait to save instead of spend, to study instead of scroll, to run instead of rest, you're strengthening that muscle. And with every rep, you gain power. Not the kind of power that needs to be seen or shouted. The quiet kind. The kind that builds empires behind the scenes. The kind that compounds over months, over years, until one day people call you lucky. But you know it wasn't luck, it was discipline. And it all starts with one question: what do I want most? When you're clear on that, it becomes easier to say no to what you want now. Not easy, just easier. Because now you're not reacting to life, you're designing it. You're not chasing every impulse. You're channeling your energy. And that's how you create a life that's not just successful on paper, but deeply fulfilling at its core. When I look back at everything I've achieved in life, one truth stands out above all. Every breakthrough I had came after a period of restraint. The moments where I resisted the easy path, when I didn't take the immediate reward, when I chose to build instead of indulge, that's when my life changed. Not when I got lucky, not when everything aligned, but when I delayed pleasure and stayed the course. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. And that's the curse of instant gratification. You expect results too fast. You quit when they don't come quickly. And you sabotage progress that was already happening simply because you couldn't feel it yet. But here's the truth. Results follow rhythm, not rush. And rhythm only comes from consistency. Consistency only comes from delayed gratification. Every time you push through that moment, the moment when your brain says, stop, give up, just once won't hurt, you grow. You're not just resisting the temptation, you're rewiring your identity. You're becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves. And that kind of person, that's dangerous. That's rare. That's the kind of person who finishes what they start, who earns trust, respect, and results quietly, without needing applause. Let me tell you something few people realize. The greatest rewards in life are front-loaded with boredom, resistance, and discomfort. You don't get the thrill first. You get silence. You get doubt. You get days that feel like nothing's working. That's the price of entry. The mistake most people make is thinking those days are a sign to stop. They're not. They're the proving ground. And only those who delay gratification get to the other side. It's easy to want a better body, but it's hard to show up every day when results don't show for weeks. It's easy to want a business, but it's hard to say no to nights out so you can build systems in silence. It's easy to want wealth, but it's hard to save when everyone else is spending. And that's the point. The price of success is paid in full, in advance through your daily choices. Not once, not occasionally, but every single day. When you make those choices, the hard ones, the boring ones, the invisible ones, you're not just buying success. You're buying freedom. You're buying peace. You're building something so much deeper than external results. You're building self-respect. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted with your own goals. That when you say, I will, you follow through. That's how confidence is built. Not from compliments, from consistency. So, what do you need to delay today? What comfort are you clinging to that's holding your future hostage? What little reward is robbing you of the big one? Because the sooner you let go of it, the sooner you trade it for discipline, the faster your life transforms. Not because of a miracle, but because you became the kind of person who no longer negotiates with weakness. You became decisive, you became focused, you became powerful. Remember, anyone can start. Few will endure. The separator isn't intelligence, luck, or skill. It's the ability to delay gratification in the moments that matter most. And the good news is that ability can be trained, strengthened, forged, one choice at a time. Most people believe success comes from doing more, working harder, grinding longer, but the truth is far more precise. Success comes from doing the right things for a long time without getting distracted. And the reason that's so rare? Because it's uncomfortable. Because delayed gratification feels like sacrifice at first until you realize it's actually freedom. Every time you delay gratification, you train your brain to obey your values, not your impulses. That's what separates you from the crowd. While others jump from one shiny thing to the next, never finishing, never focusing, you become someone who can sit with discomfort. Someone who keeps building while others look for shortcuts. Someone who finishes the race because they weren't chasing a dopamine hit, they were chasing a deeper reward. There is a law of nature that few people talk about, and it governs success more than talent ever will. The law of accumulation. Everything in life, your money, your knowledge, your relationships, your health, accumulates over time. Slowly, quietly, compounding in the background while no one is watching. But only if you stay consistent. Only if you stay disciplined. Only if you stop interrupting your progress with distraction, doubt, and impatience. I've seen so many brilliant people lose the game, not because they weren't good enough, but because they couldn't stand the wait. They needed validation too soon. They needed applause too early. They traded long-term fulfillment for short-term stimulation. They got caught in a cycle of starting and stopping, craving and quitting, hoping and hesitating, and in that cycle, momentum dies. But if you're willing to break that pattern, if you're willing to choose patience over impulse, silence over noise, strategy over chaos, then something powerful begins to happen. You stop rushing. You start refining. You start building systems that compound, habits that serve you, boundaries that protect you. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you get sharper. Because every time you delay gratification, you take control back from the world and give it to yourself. One of the greatest advantages you'll ever have in life is the ability to say, not yet, when everyone else is saying now. That one decision changes everything. You delay the party now so you can host the party later. You delay the pleasure now so you can enjoy a life of purpose. You delay gratification today so you can experience abundance tomorrow, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And let me be honest with you, this isn't about perfection. You will stumble, you will slip. You'll have days where you give in to the urge, where you chase the quick reward, where you compromise your own standards. That's okay. What matters is how fast you get back. What matters is that you don't let one moment of weakness become a pattern of failure. Delayed gratification isn't about never giving in. It's about who you become when you rise back up. Because eventually, those small decisions to wait, to pause, to stay focused, they stop feeling like sacrifice. They start feeling like wisdom, like power, like clarity. You no longer envy the people chasing the thrill because you're building something they can't see yet. But one day, they will. And when they do, it will be too late to catch up because you weren't just moving fast. You were moving with direction. I want you to understand something most people never realize. Every shortcut you take has a hidden cost. That fast pleasure, it weakens your ability to wait. That impulse buy, it drains not just your bank account, but your self-discipline. That skipped workout, that canceled commitment, that just this once it all adds up, not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle, invisible erosion of who you are. Because every time you choose comfort over character, you vote against your future. The good news? You can reverse it, starting today, starting now. You can train yourself to delay gratification, not with willpower alone that runs out, but with clarity. When your goals are sharp enough, you stop needing to rely on discipline to say no. You just see the cost of saying yes. You look at that craving and you say, is this worth who I'm becoming? And most of the time, the answer is no. You don't need more motivation. You need more awareness. And once that awareness kicks in, you stop being reactive. You stop being emotional about temporary highs. You start acting like someone who's building something permanent. You learn how to wait with power. You sit in the silence with certainty. You show up on the days when nothing seems to be changing because deep down, you know something is. And when that belief becomes real, when you no longer need proof to keep going, you become untouchable. There's this lie floating around that says success should feel good all the time. It doesn't, not in the beginning. In the beginning, it feels like sacrifice. It feels lonely. It feels slow. But slow is not bad. In fact, slow is sustainable. And sustainable is what builds legacies. You don't need to sprint to the finish line. You need to walk consistently in the right direction. That's where delayed gratification gives you the edge. You're not chasing dopamine. You're chasing development. Every day, you're either reinforcing a pattern or rewriting one. You're either strengthening the habit of reacting or the habit of restraint. Most people don't realize how often they're training themselves to quit, to indulge, to break their own standards. But when you flip that switch, when you start training your brain to wait, to think, to choose long-term over impulse, you're building something priceless. Emotional leverage. And that leverage becomes your engine. It shows up when you're tired, when no one's watching, when it's easier to scroll than to study, easier to buy than to save, easier to sleep in than to show up. That's when the voice inside you, the one you've been training, gets louder. It says, not today. I know where I'm going. And you follow it, not because it feels good, but because it feels right. That's how you win. Not with big dramatic moves, but with small, private victories. The moments where you delay a distraction and stay locked into your mission. The nights where you close the laptop, not to escape, but to reset. The mornings where you say no to snooze because your future is more important than 5 minutes of extra comfort. Those moments don't make headlines, but they build character. And character is the foundation of every form of success. So ask yourself honestly, where are you giving in too easily? Where are you settling for crumbs when you could have the whole cake? Where have you convinced yourself that comfort now is more valuable than greatness later? That's your battleground. And every day you resist it, every time you delay gratification, you're winning quietly, relentlessly, permanently. There's a quiet dignity in doing hard things when no one is watching. In saying no to temptation, not because someone told you to, but because you told yourself to. That's power, that's freedom, and that's what delayed gratification gives you. Control over your life when you no longer need instant comfort. You're dangerous because now the world can't manipulate you. You're no longer for sale to the cheapest distraction. You operate by principle, not by pressure. Think about the most successful people you know. They're not the ones chasing every opportunity. They're not addicted to shiny objects. They're focused, grounded, disciplined, and underneath that, they've trained their minds to resist the seduction of now. They've made peace with the silence, the grind, the slow build. And because of that, they move with conviction, while others move with confusion. Here's something I want you to hold on to. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you cut corners in the small things, you'll eventually do the same in the big ones. But if you learn to delay gratification in the simple daily decisions, you'll build the muscle you need for the big breakthroughs. It's not about suffering, it's about structure. Not about depriving yourself, but about preparing yourself. When you train yourself to delay gratification, you become strategic. You think long term. You act like the person you want to become, not like the person your emotions are trying to keep you as. And that is where real transformation happens. That's when you stop being someone who reacts and start becoming someone who creates. Someone who doesn't need everything now because they're building something that lasts. The truth is, most people waste their lives on almost. They almost got in shape. They almost started that business. They almost wrote that book. And behind every almost is a moment where they gave in to what felt good instead of what would have made them great. But you're done with almost. You're ready for complete follow-through. And that begins by honoring your future more than your feelings. So how do you start? You start small. You start with your habits, one decision at a time. You delay one impulse. You resist one distraction. You choose discomfort not because you like it, but because you love who it's shaping you into. You wake up with intention. You protect your schedule. You guard your energy. And slowly, your entire life transforms. Not because the world changed, but because your relationship with comfort changed. Delayed gratification isn't about denying pleasure. It's about mastering timing. You still get the reward, but you get it with peace, with pride, with strength. And when that becomes your standard, you're no longer living by accident. You're living by design. And everything you want, the impact, the income, the integrity, becomes not just possible, but inevitable. So from this moment on, commit to the long game. Commit to the version of yourself who doesn't rush, who doesn't flinch, who shows up day after day, building brick by brick what others said was impossible. Because that's what delayed gratification gives you. Not just results, but identity. You stop being someone who wishes. You become someone who finishes